Look like the Indiana Fever is shaking things up. They has hired a new player and development coach. Now, I know the first thing y'all think, what is going on with Keith Porter? Now, if you guys don't know, Keith Porter to his Achilles while at practice, from what I'm hearing. And yeah, man, he's still on the staff. So they're keeping Keith Porter. They're not getting rid of him. And quite frankly, I think this is a smart decision.
Okay, so the Fever just hired a new player development coach, and that's their first big move for the upcoming season. Everyone's trying to figure out what this means for Caitlin Clark and the rest of the roster. This new coach has some serious NBA credentials, and the timing really suggests the Fever aren't wasting any time fixing what went wrong last year. Keith Porter is staying on the staff, even with his injury, but now he's got some serious help from someone who's been moving up the NBA coaching ranks super fast. Do you think adding more player development coaches will actually fix the Fever's issues, or is this just kind of, window dressing? Let us know what you think.
That Rob Dozer is joining our staff as a player and development coach. Rob will work alongside fellow player and development coach Keith Porter. So, as you guys can see here, this is him.
Let's break down what just happened. The Indiana Fever announced they're bringing in Rob Dozer as a new player development coach, and he'll be working alongside Keith Porter. This is the first roster or staff change the Fever have made for the upcoming season, and it really shows they're serious about making changes after how last season wrapped up. They did make the playoffs for the first time in years, which was huge progress, but getting knocked out in the first round definitely highlighted that they still have a long way to go before they're actually competing for championships. Rob Dozer is coming over from the Mad Ants, which is the G League affiliate for the Indiana Pacers, so he's already super familiar with the whole Pacers sports and entertainment organization that runs both teams. That familiarity probably made everything a lot smoother and gave the Fever confidence that he totally gets how things work here. Moving from the Mad Ants to the Fever is interesting because it's technically a lateral move in terms of professional level, but honestly, working with Caitlin Clark and being part of the WNBA's biggest story right now is probably way more appealing than just developing G League players who might never even make it to the NBA. And get this, Dozer's background is actually pretty impressive when you dig into it. Before he even joined the Mad Ants for the 2023-2024 season, he spent 2 years with the Washington Wizards organization. He was a player development manager for the Wizards in 2021-22, and before that he was a player development coach assistant for the Capital City Go-Go, the Wizards G League team. So he's got NBA experience at multiple levels, meaning he knows exactly what elite player development looks like and how to help athletes really maximize their potential. The fact that he's been rising through the NBA coaching ranks so quickly definitely suggests he's really good at what he does. You don't just jump from college graduate assistant to G League coach to NBA organization staff to another G League head coaching role unless people in the industry recognize your talent. The Fever didn't just hire some random assistant. They got someone who's been building a solid reputation for player development in professional basketball. That's a big deal because Caitlin Clark and the rest of the roster need coaching that understands the pro game at the highest level. Plus, Keith Porter staying on staff despite tearing his Achilles is pretty significant too. There was some talk that the Fever might make more coaching staff changes after the season ended, but keeping Porter shows they really value what he brought to the team. He was super important in helping players develop throughout the season, and from everything we hear, he did some great work with the roster. The Achilles injury happened during practice, which is just awful timing, but the Fever clearly believe he's worth keeping around, even while he recovers. Adding Dozer gives Porter a partner to share that workload and make sure the player development side of things doesn't suffer while Porter is rehabbing. The timing of this hire is also really interesting because it's happening in November, which is super early in the WNBA offseason. Most teams don't make big staff changes until after the new year, once they've had more time to look at everything from the previous season. The Fever moving this quickly tells us they identified player development as a priority that needed to be reinforced right away. They're not messing around or dragging their feet. They saw a need, found someone with the right background, and made the hire. That's exactly the kind of decisive action fans want to see from a front office that's trying to build a contender. Now, what this means for Caitlin Clark specifically is worth looking into. She had an incredible season by most standards, but there were definitely areas where she struggled, especially late in games when fatigue hit and her efficiency dropped. Having another player development coach focused on helping her refine her game, manage her minutes and energy throughout the season, and develop counters for how defenses are attacking her could make a massive difference. Dozer's NBA experience means he's seen the best players in the world work on their craft, and he can bring those insights to help Caitlin take that next step in her development. But here's the thing, this isn't just about Caitlin. The entire roster needs development work. Aaliyah Boston had a strong season, but she needs to keep improving her offensive game and become more assertive. Kelsey Mitchell is a veteran scorer, but she could definitely benefit from refining certain aspects of her game. Melissa Smith showed flashes, but she was inconsistent. Lexi Hull needs to expand her offensive repertoire beyond just shooting threes. Every single player on the roster has areas they can improve, and having 2 dedicated player development coaches means there's more capacity to work individually with each person. The fact that Dozer specializes in player development rather than just being a general assistant coach is super important. This is someone whose entire focus is on helping players get better through skill work, film study, and individual attention. He's not managing game strategy or handling rotations. He's in the gym, working on specific skills with specific players to help them improve in targeted areas. That specialization is valuable because it means players are getting expert-level instruction on the technical aspects of their games rather than just general coaching. His Washington Wizards background is relevant too because the Wizards, despite their team struggles, have actually had a lot of success developing individual players. They've taken draft picks and turned them into productive NBA players through their development program. That's exactly the kind of track record you want from someone in this role. It's not about winning championships as an organization, it's about taking players with potential and helping them maximize that potential through smart, focused development work. And the G League experience, that's valuable too, because the G League is basically a laboratory for player development. The whole point of that league is to develop players who can eventually contribute at the NBA level. Coaches in the G League are constantly working on skill development, implementing new training techniques, and figuring out what works to help players improve. That mindset and experience translates directly to what the Fever need as they try to develop their roster into a championship-caliber team. The fact that this hire is getting so much attention and discussion just shows how invested Fever fans are in the team's success. People care about coaching staff additions now because they understand that good coaching and a strong development infrastructure are absolutely essential for winning. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have coaches who can help that talent develop and reach its potential, you're just not going anywhere. The Fever have recognized that, and they're investing in building out their staff accordingly. The social media response to this announcement has been mostly positive, with fans expressing optimism that the Fever are being proactive about addressing weaknesses. There's a general understanding that last season, while successful in some ways, also exposed limitations in how the team was put together and coached. Making changes to address those limitations shows the front office is paying attention and willing to evolve, rather than just running back the same approach and hoping for different results. What's also interesting is that this is probably just the first move. The offseason is long, and the Fever will likely make more changes to the roster and maybe even the coaching staff. Free agency, trades, and the draft all provide opportunities to upgrade the team. But starting with infrastructure improvements, like adding another player development coach, shows really smart prioritization. Get the foundation right first, then add talent on top of that foundation. That's how you build sustained success, instead of just hoping everything clicks. The connection to the Pacers organization through the Mad Ants is also worth noting, because it creates potential for knowledge sharing and collaboration. The Pacers have had success developing players, and having someone on the Fever staff who understands how the Pacers system works could make it easier to exchange ideas and best practices. The two organizations are under the same ownership, so it just makes sense to use that relationship to help both teams get better. For Caitlin Clark specifically, having coaches who've worked in the NBA means they can help her understand what the next level of her game looks like. They've seen the best point guards in the world up close. They know what separates good players from great players, and great players from superstars. That perspective is invaluable for someone like Caitlin, who's already excellent, but has tons of room to keep improving. Having coaches who can show her film of how NBA point guards handle certain situations or solve certain problems gives her a real roadmap for her own development. The Fever's willingness to invest in this coaching infrastructure also sends a clear message to Caitlin and the rest of the roster that the organization is serious about winning. Players definitely notice when teams are cutting corners or not providing resources. They also notice when teams are doing everything possible to create an environment for success. Adding another player development coach with NBA credentials shows the Fever aren't satisfied with just making the playoff. They want to compete for championships, and they're building the infrastructure to make that possible. The timing relative to Caitlin's offseason is interesting too. She's presumably working on her game right now, recovering from the wear and tear of last season and getting ready for the next campaign. Having new coaching staff in place early means they can potentially start working with her sooner, instead of waiting until training camp. That extra time to build relationships and implement development plans could really pay off when the season starts. This hire also reflects broader trends in professional basketball, where player development has become increasingly specialized and sophisticated. Teams are investing more resources into skill development, sports science, and individualized training programs, because they know that even small improvements in individual players lead to significant team success over a season. The Fever are definitely following that trend by building out their development staff with qualified professionals who can help get maximum value from their roster. So yeah, the Indiana Fever just made their first big move of the offseason by adding Rob Dozer to the player development staff. And it really signals they're serious about building a championship infrastructure around Caitlin Clark and the rest of the roster. This is how teams get better, by investing in coaching and development before the season even starts. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, because we're tracking every single move the Fever make as they try to turn all that potential into championship.